The preamble of the Missouri Constitution precedes 13 articles. Preamble. Text of Preamble. We, the people of Missouri, with profound reverence for the supreme ruler of the universe, and grateful for his goodness, do establish this Constitution for the better government of the state. 1. Article 1 of the Missouri Constitution is entitled Bill of Rights and consists of 35 sections. Text of Section 1. Source of political power: origin, basis, and aim of government. That all political power is vested in and derived from the people, that all government of right originates from the people, is founded upon their will only, and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. 1. Section 2. Text of Section 2. Promotion of general welfare: natural rights of persons, equality under the law. Purpose of government. That all constitutional government is intended to promote the general welfare of the people, that all persons have a natural right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness and the enjoyment of the gains of their own industry, that all persons are created equal and are entitled to equal rights and opportunity under the law, that to give security to these things is the principal office of government, and that when government does not confer this security, it fails in its chief design. 1. Section 3. Text of Section 3. Powers of the people over internal affairs, constitution, and form of government. That the people of this state have the inherent, sole, and exclusive right to regulate the internal government and police thereof, and to alter and abolish their constitution and form of government whenever they may deem it necessary to their safety and happiness, provided such change be not repugnant to the Constitution of the United States. 1. Section 4. Text of Section 4. Independence of Missouri: submission of certain amendments to Constitution of the United States. That Missouri is a free and independent state, subject only to the Constitution of the United States, that all proposed amendments to the Constitution of the United States qualifying or affecting the individual liberties of the people or which in any wise may impair the right of local self-government belonging to the people of this state, should be submitted to conventions of the people. 1. Section 5. Text of Section 5. Religious freedom: liberty of conscience and belief limitation. That all men and women have a natural and indefeasible right to worship Almighty God according to the dictates of their own consciences, that no human authority can control or interfere with the rights of conscience, that no person shall, on account of his or her religious persuasion or belief, be rendered ineligible to any public office or trust or profit in this state, be disqualified from testifying or serving as a juror, or be molested in his or her person or estate, that to secure a citizen's right to acknowledge Almighty God according to the dictates of his or her own conscience, neither the state nor any of its political subdivisions shall establish any official religion, nor shall a citizen's right to pray or express his or her religious beliefs be infringed, that the state shall not coerce any person to participate in any prayer or other religious activity, but shall ensure that any person shall have the right to pray individually or corporately in a private or public setting so long as such prayer does not result in disturbance of the peace or disruption of a public meeting or assembly, that citizens as well as elected officials and employees of the state of Missouri and its political subdivisions shall have the right to pray on government premises and public property so long as such prayers abide within the same parameters placed upon any other free speech under similar circumstances, that the General Assembly and the governing bodies of political subdivisions may extend to ministers, clergy persons, and other individuals the privilege to offer invocations or other prayers at meetings or sessions of the General Assembly or governing bodies, that students may express their beliefs about religion in written and oral assignments free from discrimination based on the religious content of their work, that no student shall be compelled to perform or participate in academic assignments or educational presentations that violate his or her religious beliefs, that the state shall ensure public school students their right to free exercise of religious expression without interference, as long as such prayer or other expression is private and voluntary, whether individually or corporately, and in a manner that is not disruptive, and as long as such prayers or expressions abide within the same parameters placed upon any other free speech under similar circumstances, and, To emphasize the right to free exercise of religious expression. That all free public schools receiving state appropriations shall display, in a conspicuous and legible manner, the text of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution of the United States, but this section shall not be construed to expand the rights of prisoners in state or local custody beyond those afforded by the laws of the United States, excuse acts of licentiousness, nor to justify practices inconsistent with the good order, peace, or safety of the state, or with the rights of others. 1. Amendments. Amended with the approval of Missouri Public Prayer Amendment, Amendment 2, August 2012, on August 7, 2012. Section 6. Text of Section 6. Practice and support of religion not compulsory, contracts therefore enforceable. That no person can be compelled to erect, support or attend any place or system of worship, or to maintain or support any priest, minister, preacher, or teacher of any sect, church, creed or denomination of religion, but if any person shall voluntarily make a contract for any such object, he shall be held to the performance of the same. 1. Section 7. Text of Section 7. Public aid for religious purposes, preferences and discriminations on religious grounds. That no money shall ever be taken from the public treasury, directly or indirectly, in aid of any church, sect, or denomination of religion, or in aid of any priest, preacher, minister, or teacher thereof, as such, and that no preference shall be given to nor any discrimination made against any church, sect, or creed of religion, or any form of religious faith or worship. 1. Section 8. Text of Section 8. Freedom of speech, evidence of truth in defamation actions, province of jury. That no law shall be passed impairing the freedom of speech, no matter by what means communicated, that every person shall be free to say, write, or publish, or otherwise communicate whatever he will on any subject, being responsible for all abuses of that liberty, and that in all suits and prosecutions for libel or slander the truth thereof may be given in evidence, and in suits and prosecutions for libel the jury, under the direction of the court, shall determine the law and the facts. 1. Section 9. Text of Section 9. Rights of peaceable assembly and petition. That the people have the right peaceably to assemble for their common good, and to apply to those invested with the powers of government for redress of grievances by petition or remonstrance. 1. Section 10. Text of Section 10. Due process of law. That no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. 1. Section 11. Text of Section 11. Imprisonment for debt. That no person shall be imprisoned for debt, except for non-payment of fines and penalties imposed by law. 1. Section 12. Text of Section 12. Habeas Corpus. That the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall never be suspended. 1. Section 13. Text of Section 13. Ex post facto laws, impairment of contracts, irrevocable privileges. That no ex post facto law, nor law impairing the obligation of contracts, or retrospective in its operation, or making any irrevocable grant of special privileges or immunities, can be enacted. 1. Section 14. Text of Section 14. Open courts certain remedies, justice without sale, denial, or delay. That the courts of justice shall be open to every person, and certain remedy afforded for every injury to person, property, or character, and that right and justice shall be administered without sale, denial, or delay. 1. Section 15. Text of Section 15. Unreasonable search and seizure, prohibited contents and basis of warrants. That the people shall be secure in their persons, papers, homes, effects, and electronic communications and data, from unreasonable searches and seizures, and no warrant to search any place, or seize any person or thing, or access electronic data or communication, shall issue without describing the place to be searched, or the person or thing to be seized, or the data or communication to be accessed, as nearly as may be, nor without probable cause, supported by written oath or affirmation. 1. Amendments. Amended by the approval of Missouri Electronic Data Protection, Amendment 9, August 2014, on August 5, 2014. Section 16. Text of Section 16. Grand jury's composition, jurisdiction to convene powers. That a grand jury shall consist of 12 citizens, any 9 of whom concurring may find an indictment or a true bill, provided, that no grand jury shall be convened except upon an order of a judge of a court having the power to try and determine felonies, but when so assembled such grand jury shall have power to investigate and return indictments for all character and grades of crime, and that the power of grand juries to inquire into the willful misconduct in office of public officers, and to find indictments in connection therewith, shall never be suspended. 1. Section 17. Text of Section 17. Indictments and informations in criminal cases. Exceptions. That no person shall be prosecuted criminally for felony or misdemeanor otherwise than by indictment or information, which shall be concurrent remedies, but this shall not be applied to cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor to prevent arrests and preliminary examination in any criminal case. 1. Section 18, A. Text of Section 18, A. Rights of accused in criminal prosecutions. That in criminal prosecutions the accused shall have the right to appear and defend, in person and by counsel, to demand the nature and cause of the accusation, to meet the witnesses against him face to face, to have process to compel the attendance of witnesses in his behalf, and a speedy public trial by an impartial jury of the county. 1. Section 18, B. Text of Section 18, B. Dispositions in felony cases. Upon a hearing and finding by the Circuit Court in any case wherein the accused is charged with a felony, that it is necessary to take the deposition of any witness within the state, other than defendant and spouse, in order to preserve the testimony, and on condition that the court makes such orders as will fully protect the rights of personal confrontation and cross-examination of the witness by defendant, the state may take the deposition of such witness and either party may use the same at the trial, as in civil cases, provided there has been substantial compliance with such orders. The reasonable personal and traveling expenses of defendant and his counsel shall be paid by the state or county as provided by law. 1. Section 18, C. Text of Section 18, C. Notwithstanding the provisions of Sections 17 and 18, A, of this article to the contrary, in prosecutions for crimes of a sexual nature involving a victim under 18 years of age, relevant evidence of prior criminal acts, whether charged or uncharged, is admissible for the purpose of corroborating the victim's testimony or demonstrating the defendant's propensity to commit the crime with which he or she is presently charged. The court may exclude relevant evidence of prior criminal acts if the probative value of the evidence is substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice. 1. Amendments. Created by the approval of Missouri Evidence in Sexual Crimes Against Minors, Amendment 2, 2014, on November 4, 2014. Section 19. Text of Section 19. Self-incrimination and double jeopardy. That no person shall be compelled to testify against himself in a criminal cause, nor shall any person be put again in jeopardy of life or liberty for the same offense, after being once acquitted by a jury, but if the jury fail to render a verdict the court may, in its discretion, discharge the jury and commit or bail the prisoner for trial at the same or next term of court, and if judgment be arrested after a verdict of guilty on a defective indictment or information, or if judgment on a verdict of guilty be reversed for error in law, the prisoner may be tried anew on a proper indictment or information, or according to the law. 1. Section 20. Text of Section 20, Bail guaranteed exceptions. That all persons shall be bailable by sufficient sureties, except for capital offences, when the proof is evident or the presumption great. 1. Section 21. Text of Section 21. Excessive bail and fines cruel and unusual punishment. That excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. 1. Section 22, a. Text of Section 22, a. Right of trial by jury. Qualification of jurors. 2/3 verdict. That the right of trial by jury as heretofore enjoyed shall remain inviolate, provided that a jury for the trial of criminal and civil cases in courts not of record may consist of less than 12 citizens as may be prescribed by law, and a 2/3 majority of such number concurring may render a verdict in all civil cases, that in all civil cases in courts of record, 3/4 of the members of the jury concurring may render a verdict, and that in every criminal case any defendant may, with the assent of the court, waive a jury trial and submit the trial of such case to the court, whose finding shall have the force and effect of a verdict of a jury. 1. Section 22, b. Text of Section 22, b. Female jurors. Optional exemption. No citizen shall be disqualified from jury service because of sex, but the court shall excuse any woman who requests exemption therefrom before being sworn as a juror. 1. Section 23. Text of Section 23. Right to keep and bear arms. Exception. That the right of every citizen to keep and bear arms, ammunition, and accessories typical to the normal function of such arms, in defense of his home, person, family, and property, or when lawfully summoned in aid of the civil power, shall not be questioned. The rights guaranteed by this section shall be unalienable. Any restriction on these rights shall be subject to strict scrutiny, and the state of Missouri shall be obligated to uphold these rights and shall under no circumstances decline to protect against their infringement. Nothing in this section shall be construed to prevent the General Assembly from enacting general laws which limit the rights of convicted violent felons or those duly adjudged mentally infirm by a court of competent jurisdiction. 1. Amendments. Amended by the approval of Missouri Right to Bear Arms, Amendment 5, August 2014, on August 5, 2014. Section 24. Text of Section 24. Subordination of military to civil power. Quartering soldiers. That the military shall be always in strict subordination to the civil power, that no soldier shall be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner in time of peace, nor in time of war, except as prescribed by law. 1. Section 25. Text of Section 25. Elections and right of suffrage. That all elections shall be free and open, and no power, civil or military, shall at any time interfere to prevent the free exercise of the right of suffrage. 1. Section 26. Text of Section 26. Compensation for property taken by eminent domain. Condemnation juries. Payment. Railroad property. That private property shall not be taken or damaged for public use without just compensation. Such compensation shall be ascertained by a jury or board of commissioners of not less than 3 freeholders, in such manner as may be provided by law, and until the same shall be paid to the owner, or into court for the owner, the property shall not be disturbed or the proprietary rights of the owner therein divested. The fee of land taken for railroad purposes without consent of the owner thereof shall remain in such owner subject to the use for which it is taken. 1. Section 27. Text of Section 27. Acquisition of excess property by eminent domain. Disposition under restrictions. That in such manner and under such limitations as may be provided by law, the state or any county or city may acquire by eminent domain such property, or rights in property, in excess of that actually to be occupied by the public improvement or used in connection therewith, as may be reasonably necessary to effectuate the purposes intended, and may be vested with the fee simple title thereto, or the control of the use thereof, and may sell such excess property with such restrictions as shall be appropriate to preserve the improvements made. 1. Section 28. Text of Section 28. Limitation on taking of private property for private use. Exceptions. Public use. A judicial question. That private property shall not be taken for private use with or without compensation, unless by consent of the owner, except for private ways of necessity, and except for drains and ditches across the lands of others for agricultural and sanitary purposes, in the manner prescribed by law, and that when an attempt is made to take private property for a use alleged to be public, the question whether the contemplated use be public shall be judicially determined without regard to any legislative declaration that the use is public. 1. Section 29. Text of Section 29. Organized labor and collective bargaining. That employees shall have the right to organize and to bargain collectively through representatives of their own choosing. 1. Section 30. Text of Section 30. Treason, attainder, corruption of blood and forfeitures, estate of suicides, death by casualty. That treason against the state can consist only in levying war against it, or in adhering to its enemies, giving them aid and comfort, that no person can be convicted of treason, unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act, or on his confession in open court, that no person can be attaint of treason or felony by the General Assembly, that no conviction can work corruption of blood or forfeiture of estate, that the estates of such persons as may destroy their own lives shall descend or vest as in cases of natural death, and when any person shall be killed by casualty, there shall be no forfeiture by reason thereof. 1. Section 31. Text of Section 31. Fines or imprisonments fixed by administrative agencies. That no law shall delegate to any commission, bureau, board, or other administrative agency authority to make any rule fixing a fine or imprisonment as punishment for its violation. 1. Section 32. Text of Section 32. Crime victims' rights. Crime victims, as defined by law, shall have the following rights, as defined by law. 1. The right to be present at all criminal justice proceedings at which the defendant has such right, including juvenile proceedings where the offense would have been a felony if committed by an adult. 2. Upon request of the victim, the right to be informed of and heard at guilty pleas, bail hearings, sentencings, probation revocation hearings, and parole hearings, unless in the determination of the court the interests of justice require otherwise. 3. The right to be informed of trials and preliminary hearings. 4. The right to restitution, which shall be enforceable in the same manner as any other civil cause of action, or as otherwise provided by law. 5. The right to the speedy disposition and appellate review of their cases, provided that nothing in this subdivision shall prevent the defendant from having sufficient time to prepare his defense. 6. The right to reasonable protection from the defendant or any person acting on behalf of the defendant. 7. The right to information concerning the escape of an accused from custody or confinement, the defendant's release and scheduling of the defendant's release from incarceration, and 8. The right to information about how the criminal justice system works, the rights and the availability of services, and upon request of the victim the right to information about the crime. 2. Notwithstanding Section 20 of Article I of this Constitution, upon a showing that the defendant poses a danger to a crime victim, the community, or any other person, the court may deny bail or may impose special conditions which the defendant and surety must guarantee. 3. Nothing in this section shall be construed as creating a cause of action for money damages against the state, a county, a municipality, or any of the agencies, instrumentalities, or employees provided that the General Assembly may, by statutory enactment, reverse, modify, or supersede any judicial decision or rule arising from any cause of action brought pursuant to this section. 4. Nothing in this section shall be construed to authorize a court to set aside or to void a finding of guilt, or an acceptance of a plea of guilty in any criminal case. 5. The General Assembly shall have power to enforce this section by appropriate legislation. 1. Amendments. Adopted with the approval of Missouri Crime Victim Rights, Amendment 4, 1992, on November 3, 1992. Section 33. Text of Section 33. Marriage, validity, and recognition. That to be valid and recognized in this state, a marriage shall exist only between a man and a woman. 1. Amendments. Adopted with the approval of Missouri Marriage Definition, Amendment 2, August 2004, on August 3, 2004. Section 34. Text of Section 34. English to be the official language in this state. That English shall be the language of all official proceedings in this state. Official proceedings shall be limited to any meeting of a public governmental body at which any public business is discussed, decided, or public policy formulated, whether such meeting is conducted in person or by means of communication equipment, including, but not limited to, conference call, video conference, internet chat, or internet message board. The term official proceeding shall not include an informal gathering of members of a public governmental body for ministerial or social purposes, but the term shall include a public vote of all or a majority of the members of a public governmental body, by electronic communication or any other means, conducted in lieu of holding an official proceeding with the members of the public governmental body gathered at one location in order to conduct public business. 1. Amendments. Adopted with the approval of Missouri English Official Language, Constitutional Amendment 1, 2008, on November 4, 2008. Section 35. Text of Section 35. That agriculture which provides food, energy, health benefits, and security is the foundation and stabilizing force of Missouri's economy. To protect this vital sector of Missouri's economy, the right of farmers and ranchers to engage in farming and ranching practices shall be forever guaranteed in this state, subject to duly authorized powers, if any, conferred by Article 6 of the Constitution of Missouri. 1. Amendments. Adopted with the approval of Missouri Right to Farm, Amendment 1, August 2014, on August 5, 2014.